Hey guys, welcome back to Turn Pages. My name is Jeremy, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life revival. Basically, what this is this is a Netflix original continuation thing from the Gilmore Girls TV show. Before I get started and tell you my overall thoughts, I'm not going to tell you a step by step what happened in every single episode. There's tons of videos on here on YouTube telling you guys all that. These are just going to be my initial thoughts, what I thought, what are some of my favorite parts. Did I like the return of certain characters? Did I feel like it was justified bringing those characters even though for a short time? Things of that nature. Um, but what I will say is that if you have not watched all 7 seasons of the original show Gilmore Girls, I would highly recommend that you do, because there's lots and lots of references to characters and things that have happened to them in the past that you kind of need to know. Um, it is a fantastic show. It is one of my favorite TV shows. I probably have binge watched all 7 seasons at least more than 15 times in the past, at least 7, 8 years easily. Um, it's one of my favorites. As soon as I finished the revival in my previous video, I had just finished the 3rd episode, and of course shortly after that video was posted, I watched the 4th one and finished it, and I wanted to kind of collect my thoughts for about a day before I posted this review. But we're gonna get started. These consist of 4 episodes where um, it's called A Year in the Life, so it goes through the 4 seasons of the year. So it starts with winter, spring, summer, and then fall. So my overall initial thoughts of it is that I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot, but at the same time I also think I expected a little bit too much, because I was in fact disappointed by it in some aspects. Um, And since, coffee is such a big part of the Gilmore Girls show, this is not coffee. I do not have a coffee maker, nor do I have instant coffee. I don't believe in instant coffee. If you want my opinion, instant coffee can just die. But this is my favorite coffee mug that says the most important meal of the day, coffee, and it says that on both sides. But in here I have is just hot Lipton tea, which is very delicious. My throat's still very scratchy, just like it was in the previous video. That's hence why I have a drink in this video. But another thing you guys should want to know is this revival, this reboot collection of whatever. It's really confusing. I also feel like this very much acts as an 8th season. This never really felt like something else. This very much felt like an 8th season by every means. But what's also really interesting is this is set 10 years after the finale of season 7. Rory at the end of this season is 22 years old, and in the revival, she's 32 years old. So there's a lot of things that I really liked. I liked that Lorelai still had the dragonfly. I loved that we still have Michelle being very interesting, but what really caught me off guard was a lot of the actors' voices changed so much. Like Lorelai's voice was different. Rory's voice was obviously it's been a decade, so obviously it's gonna be different. The actors change and grow up a lot in that time. But I think it was one of the most interesting experiencing being able to continue these characters 10 years into the future and see what their lives have been like since season 7 ended, because I did not want Gilmore Girls to end. I view it as one of my favorite TV shows, and it's the only contemporary TV show I've ever watched that I literally would. It was one of those shows I never wanted it to end. I could watch it over and over and over. But really, all of our girls focus on a lot of different things in here. I think there is definitely an energy that is missing from the show, or from the revival, very much so, and that is the loss of Edward Herman. who is the actor who played Richard Gilmore, because he passed away several years ago. So in the show, out of the memory of him, Richard is also gone. He also passed away. And we do have a backflash scene of his funeral, which was very emotional. And I think I speak for every Gilmore Girls fan, every person in the fandom, that we cried like a baby during that scene, because he is a character that we got to see for 7 seasons, 7 years, if you watched it from the very beginning, to see him in almost every episode. Sometimes he would be in episodes, but he was still in every season, and he still was such a wonderful energy into every season. And I think that is definitely something that we are at a loss in here, and there's nothing we can do about it. You can't replace that energy. And I'm really happy that they did decide to have Richard being passed away on the revival as well. I think it would have been a betrayal of his character if they would have just recast him being played by somebody else. I actually, because I knew of his deaths that happened several years ago, and I always was wondering, if they would ever come back, how would they handle that, but what would they do? And I think it was really interesting, because I always thought that maybe like that, Emily would have the house, she'd be in their house, and he would be in maybe another state doing business, or out on leave, doing something. But I think this one was a lot more um, faithful to Richard's character to have him pass away. Um, we do have several photographs that lay in certain parts of Emily's and Richard's home that is of Richard, and I think that was very beautiful. The first episode is at the end, is in full dedication to him, and I thought that was very beautiful. Um, so that was another really big thing. I really liked seeing a lot of favorite characters. We get to see Paris again. We get to see Doyle. Um, Logan, Jess, and Dean are all a very big part, but I will say one thing: we get to see more of Jess and Logan than we do Dean. That is one thing I do view as quite disappointing. I understand that Jared Padalecki, the actor who plays Dean, went off and he did Supernatural, and I think it probably was one of the best decisions, if not the best decision his career could have ever have taken, because being a part of a huge show like Supernatural that is attached to such a massive fan base, I think that's incredible. Knowing that they've been going on for 12 straight seasons without a low of ratings, I think that's fantastic. Um, but I think I feel like it wasn't really. I feel like he didn't get enough screen time, because he almost dropped off the face of the earth in season 5, and we never heard nor we knew what happened to him. And in the revival, he's only in one scene in the last episode, and that scene is with Rory. And of course, it's with Rory. I think it had to be with Rory. All we know is that he is married to a woman named Jenny, and he has 3 children. Well, he has 2, and 3, and another on the way, to my knowledge. Um, and another disappointing thing that I have, and this is probably my most disappointing thing in this entire revival, was the absence of Suki. Suki only appears in one scene in the 4th episode, very much like Dean. I feel like I'm more disappointed with the loss of Suki than I am Dean, just because Suki is one of my favorite characters in the entire Gilmore Girls TV show. She is fantastic. She's a chef, but she's also very funny, and I just really loved her character. To be able to follow her from the very, very, very beginning of season 1 to even get to see her a little bit here, it just really brings me a lot of happiness. But I did find out that Melissa McCarthy was actually out of the country, and she was really busy. I kind of wish that they could have flexed her in at least 2. I wish that she could have done 4 scenes. If she could have done just 1 scene in every one of the episodes, I think I could have been happy with that. But she's not, and at least the episode that she was in, it's classic Suki. If you've seen the show, thousands of cakes, all decorated for Lorelai and Luke's wedding. Spoiler alert, this video will have spoilers. It's not non-spoiler video. I apologize if I didn't mention that about 10 minutes ago. But another thing, and I'm getting off on a tangent a little bit, but another thing that I was really, really happy to see that Luke and Lorelai were still together because they had pretty much a very rough spot through season 7. Um, I'm glad that I'm not the only one that thinks that, but Amy Sherman Pandino, the creator of Gilmore Girls, was never on board for Lorelai marrying Christopher. I loved that personally. I thought that was fantastic, but in terms of character and in terms of driving the show, I think that was a very poor decision. And of course, a lot of people don't know that her nor Daniel were involved in the 7th season very much. They were still producers of the show in some aspects of the last season, but they weren't really, because a lot of people do not know this, but season 7 was never meant to be the last season. Amy Sherman Panadina always intended to end Gilmore Girls with 8 seasons, and in a way she kind of got to. She kind of got to do this last story, and these last 4 episodes, which are a lot longer than most Gilmore Girls episodes. If I didn't say this before, these ones range between 90 to 102 minutes. As far as I know, almost every one of these are about an hour and a half long, or almost an hour and a half long. The last one is the longest one, which was at an hour and 42 minutes. So almost 2 Gilmore Girls episodes wrapped up into one. It was quite long, but it was very good. I liked. I will admit one thing: we get to see Logan more than we get to see any of the other guys that Lori that Lori dated. We see Logan in all 4 episodes. He's not in all 4 of them a ton, but he's still in all 4 of them, which I really like, because out of all the boyfriends, I felt like that Logan was just perfect for Rory. I felt like he just fit her world more than the other guys. Not only is he a incredibly beautiful guy, but I feel like he really empathizes with Rory on a lot of details of her life. He understands where she's coming from in a lot of situations, and I like that in the show he was very a lot. Logan made a lot of reckless decisions, especially ones that nearly could have gotten himself killed multiple times. And I like in this one he doesn't do that anymore. He can't. Once again, being in your 30s, you can't exactly do that anymore. Playtime is over. It's the real world that you have to face now. And I really like that we got to see that in Logan, certainly. So with Rory being in her 30s, we really get to see a lot of different aspects to her life, and I liked seeing her in a lot of these situations. We get to see it's not Gilmore Girls without a little bit of arguing between Lorelai and Rory, and it's once again not arguing with a fight scene between Emily and Lorelai in Richard and Emily's kitchen. It's just not Gilmore Girls without that. And I think they did as I think Amy Sherman Panadino did as best she could, considering I think she had a lot on her plate, and there's so many fans wanted to see almost every one of their characters, and I think she did the best she could to give them a very big piece of the light. That's the right word I'm using, of screen time. One of the biggest things is the dramatic weight loss of Miss Patty, or the actress who plays her. I forget what her name is, but she through like the last couple of seasons of Gilmore Girls, you could already tell that the actress was losing weight a lot, and it tells drastically. She's skinnier than I am. She looks fantastic. And I just applaud for her, because it is not easy losing weight, and if anybody tells you it is easy to lose weight, they are lying. I lost weight a few years ago, and I felt like it was easier for me back then, and then I went on a diet a few months back, and it was a lot harder this time around. It's been 5 years. As you get older, it's really hard to lose weight. It's not easy, and it's not a walk in the park either. So, and that's another thing. I wish we could have gotten to see a few more scenes with Miss Patty. She's only in 2 scenes in the revival. We see her say hi to Rory, and then we have her sitting at a table with Miss Patty. And that's about it. Now, my last thing I'm going to talk about, because I don't want to ruin everything. This is still a very new revival. This only came out 5 days ago, on the 25th. So I don't want to ruin everything for you. But the biggest thing on here is the final four words, which is what Amy Sherman Panadino always intended to end Gilmore Girls with. Um, I like the last four words, but I feel like this is such a huge cliffhanger, though. I mean, at times it feels like a cliffhanger, and I did watch that last scene a couple of times. And this will be spoilers, so if you officially do not want to know what this is, I suggest you go away now. I'll hold this up, and when the mug is no longer in frame, you can have free without getting spoiled. But basically, the show, the revival and slash the show ends with the last four. It goes Rory and then Lorelai. Rory says, "Mom." Lorelai says, "Yeah." Rory says, "I'm pregnant." And then Lorelai looks at Rory, and then black screen. I was like, what? I could not believe they ended it that way. It was such a twist, and I think it was brilliant. I really, really like that. And we know of two possible people it could be. It's either Logan, because we know she slept with Logan, and she slept with somebody that was in a Wookiee costume. That's all we know. That's all we know. And I don't know if they're gonna make a Year in the Life season 2, or because that's how it is on Netflix. But I don't know if they're gonna make more. Amy Sherman Panadino said that she has no intention of making more. Nothing's been officially said, of course, but as far as we know, this was it. So it's gonna be quite interesting. What's really fun of watching the revival was having all of that fast-talking, witty dialogue back that we know and love so much. The pop culture references were back. The coffee addictions were back. I love coffee, personally, and I'm not just saying that just because I'm a fan of the show either. I've loved coffee for years. Funny little thing about me. I could not drink coffee without cream and sugar, and now all I need is creamer in my coffee. I cannot drink it black. I've tried multiple times and I just can't do it. I have to have at least creamer in my coffee, or I just can't have coffee. So I will only drink black coffee is if I'm literally freezing to death and it's something hot. That's it. So, but I think I've said quite enough that you guys can go and develop your own thoughts on it. Please post a comment down below if you've seen the revival, if you're a fan. What did you think of the last four words? Please try to keep it as spoiler-free for at least until after January, and then you guys can spoil all things you want. Just give it a little while to let more people discover it. Apparently this revival was very well received. Probably one small nitpick. Even I know this is set in a time of a whole year, and it's called A Year in the Life. But my only thing is it did time jump very sporadically, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. My favorite two episodes were Winter and Fall, which were the first and last one. But overall, I thought this was very faithful to the show. It was wonderful seeing so many of these characters again, and I love them very dearly. So, and another thing is, I really hope they release this on DVD sometime next year. I would love to be able to have this and add it to my complete series of Gilmore Girls. Because I don't know if I ever showed you guys this before, but since we have a couple more minutes, this is something that I was gifted to by my brother several years ago. It is the complete series, which you can get on Amazon. And inside, it just has this, and they're all in this case. I'll bring that up closer, and it's very, very nice. They're all very well protected DVD cases. I wish all shows came in a complete series like this. But that is my review of Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life. So I hope you guys will enjoy this video. And I don't know what I'll post next. I'll keep you guys posted in probably the next week. It'll probably be about another week because I have another book haul coming. But I will talk to you when I can. And thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of the revival. Did you love it? Was it everything you thought it was going to be? I loved it. I did have a few things I had a few issues with, but overall I was very, very pleased with it, and I was very happy with it as well. But yeah, so I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a good one. Bye.